Welcome to the substituteforwar.com video blog number 12. I do these once a week on Wednesdays. This one's going up on Thursday, but just pretend I put up on Wednesday. Anyways, in this video blog, since preseason is just about to end, I'm going to be talking really about preseason in general in this blog. I wanted to talk about basically everyone knows that results in preseason player performances, nobody should take them seriously. Like, if you look at the history of players who have outperformed or underperformed in preseason, there's nothing to gain from this data. It's fun to watch, but it shouldn't be taken as a real evidence of a player's worth one way or another. Everyone seems to kind of understand this, but it seems like at the same time, it's so easy to make judgments on players, to hype up like certain rookies, to play down players based on preseason. I think one of the main reasons this happens is that it's hard to completely understand why preseason doesn't matter. If the reasons, it really seems like the games don't look that different. So I think for a lot of people, they see it in, even though in the back of their mind, it's saying it's just preseason. Their hearts are kind of saying, well, he can do this in this game, and it looks like the other games, so I think he'll be able to do this in regular games. But I wanted to go through a couple of the reasons why I personally think there's such a difference between preseason and regular season in terms of performance. For one thing, I think one of the most important things to remember is that basketball is definitely a game of inches. Like, literally. Basically, if like the help defense is like half a second slow on a play when a player is driving to the rim or closing out on a shooter, if a shooter has like half an inch more space on a play than he would if he was defended properly, basically plays like this, if he moves to rebound reacts to it half a second faster than another player, this all makes a huge difference in the score sheet and how a player ends up looking in a game. And really, I think the great players, they're just a little bit faster when it comes to these abilities. They can the first step is just a little bit faster. The shooting, they're just a little bit better at getting off in space, and they react they have more time to think, it seems like. And it's just my marginal increments, but it makes a huge difference when it comes to which players are the best, because all these players are extremely talented, but the ones who stand out among those players who are the most talented are the ones who have these marginal improvements. So what happens in like preseason, you have a lot of guys that basically it's like warming up pretty much for most of these veteran players. The games don't matter yet, they're not pushing themselves. So you have a lot of players where like the help defense just isn't the same, because they're not reacting quite as fast or as strongly as they would when the games mattered, or closing out on shooters, etc. Same thing offensively, they're not putting as much pressure on the team. So basically, even though it's a small difference, it's enough to make a big difference in terms of how easy it is for a player to get his game off, in my opinion. Because, the intensity just isn't quite there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that it's kind of been accepted at this point that what we actually see in regular season NBA games in terms of skills from players, they actually have more skills than that, meaning the people who see them in empty gyms and workouts, all of a sudden they're surprised by how many things they can do. Like, all of a sudden big men are shooting threes and handling the ball like a guard and passing the ball. And basically everyone's shooting much better. But basically what's happening is that there's a huge difference between being able to do that in a gym and being able to do it in a game. Because an NBA game is like the highest level of play, obviously. And if you're not at a world-class level of skill in an area, teams, you're not going to be able to get the game off because the defensive game planning is so good at this point that anything even resembling a weakness for a player can be defended, and they're going to be able to pick it apart. Yeah, like defense in the NBA is so good that in order to actually do things against them, you have to be at an extremely high level. But basically, the reason I feel like this is relevant is that, okay, so we know there's what they can do, the skills they can do at workouts, and there's skills in NBA games that all of a sudden players a lot of those skills don't translate. And, I just wanted to say, like workouts, this is the exact reason. For example, like Darko Milicic, he got drafted second because they came into workouts and they saw him shooting the ball and posting up and handling like a point guard, and they thought this guy was going to be the next KG in terms of size and skill. But basically what happened is that he could do those in the gym but not in the game, and he ended up being an actually very unskilled player in the NBA. He can barely make he can't even make layups consistently. So that can really show the difference between workout skill and in-game skill. And that's why some teams are not treating the workout as important anymore, because it misleads them into thinking players can have skills that they don't have. But anyways, getting back to why I consider this relevant in terms of the workout, the preseason, because I kind of see the preseason as the halfway point between the skills a player can show in a workout and the skills a player can show in the game. Meaning, because it's not played at a high speed level of defense, then all of a sudden, maybe some of these things that players can do in workouts, they feel a lot more comfortable doing them in preseason because, like I said, it's just a game of inches. The defense just isn't as tight. To use one example, one thing people are noticing this preseason is that DeAndre Jordan basically has a post game. He's hitting turnaround hook shots, basically like he's a star player in the post. But basically, DeAndre Jordan is a guy that he's never basically been a post threat in his life. I mean, in his NBA career, he hasn't become close to it. So I'm going to have to see him do that in games. It's possible that he developed a post game, but it's also possible that he was just feeling particularly good. He's been able, because it's kind of the halfway point between workouts and regular games, he can get this game off, but once he gets game planned, once he gets good, more, it won't be the same. But we'll see how that goes. Same thing with like Serge Ibaka as a 3-point shooting game this preseason. Who knows if that'll translate. Those are just a few examples, but even when players don't add particularly new dimensions like that, even just stuff like Enes Kanter looks great offensively. Andre Drummond looks much better than he did offensively in college. Jonas Valanciunas looks pretty good. Basically, a lot of these big guys in particular, it seems, they're just feeling a lot more comfortable, and I just wonder if that'll happen when the help defense becomes at an NBA level. An NBA caliber level, NBA game caliber level. But yeah, basically my point is that it's possible that preseason is just like the players have skills that they can do in workouts, they just can't do them in real games. And it's possible the preseason, what we're seeing a lot of these players who look like they're about to break out this year, maybe they're just showing skills that they've had for a while, but only in workouts. And I just think that when it comes to real games, it's just a different animal in terms of like the intensity, in terms of the pressure on the players, in terms of how tight the defense is, offense, in terms of how hard, how much energy they have to expend to be able to get those moves off without it being flat. So these are just all reasons why I just would not trust anything you see in preseason as indicative. I wouldn't change any opinions on players. Even though our instincts is to change our opinions on them based on what we're seeing. You kind of have to prioritize head over heart in this case, I believe. And saying, you know what, I'm just not going to change my opinion on these players because like there might be players who look bad in preseason who look bad in regular season, or good in preseason who look good in regular season. For example, a few years ago, Evan Turner looked pretty bad in preseason, and he's been disappointing ever since. And that was Evan Turner's rookie season. But basically, the most I can say about that is that it's correlation and not causation. It could have just as easily been that he played bad in preseason and then broke out as a star, or the opposite, that he played good in preseason and then broke out, and then was bad in the regular season. What it comes down to is just coincidence, in my opinion. Some players are going to be bad, and some players are going to be good and good. And drawing a line between those two things as causation might be mixing up causation or correlation and kind of just chance. I'm not saying preseason performance is the only chance. I'm just saying there's enough of an element of chance that I wouldn't trust him really at all. And I would even go as far to say just wipe everything you think you've learned from this preseason. Just pretend it almost didn't happen. And there's some fun stuff to speculate about in terms of what we're seeing in players, but I just wouldn't draw conclusions or trust actually what you're seeing as something to actually change your opinion about. Anyways, so that's video blog number 12, and I'll be back every Wednesday of these. I'll try to get them up on Wednesday. Thank you for listening.